Hello, Assembly District 78. I'm your representative, Chris Ward, and I wanted to bring you up to date on the latest for the month of May. My legislation continues to work through the process with more than a dozen bills headed to the Assembly floor later this month. Now, I'll have a full update for you next month, but I wanted to cover a few other bills to address homelessness and the status of the state budget, which needs your input this month. But first, continuing my series of informative clips about the job, I wanted to talk a little bit about our state history and how you can learn more about the state capitol when you come to visit Sacramento. The California State Capitol is the seat of the California state government, and it houses the legislature, including the Assembly and the Senate. Now, this is the 7th location since our state was founded in 1850, but it stuck and was built over a span of 14 years and completed in 1874. It's located in the heart of downtown Sacramento, now established as the state capital of California. The neoclassical style design is based on the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C., and it was conceived by architect Reuben Clark, who worked for one of San Francisco's oldest architect firms, originally founded in 1854. And between 1949 and 1952, the Capitol's East Annex was constructed, which offered spaces to the legislators, the governor, and the lieutenant governor. Now, between 1977 and 1981, the historic Capitol, more than 100 years old, was refurbished to bring back the original features and luster. And in fact, many of the historic hearing rooms are still used today as places that I can meet with committees or constituent groups to further our work. And a few years ago, a decision was made to reconstruct the Capitol Annex office spaces to serve the public for the next 80 years. And if you have a chance to visit over the next few years, you'll see all the construction going on. In the meantime, we are temporarily working in office spaces a block away in a place known as the Swing Space. Outside the Capitol is Capitol Park, which covers 10 city blocks and encompasses monuments, memorials, open space, and a beautiful rose garden on the east end. And on the west end, you'll find the Capitol Mall, as well as the West Steps, where people gather to protest and hold rallies in support of legislation. The California State Senate Chamber is decorated in red, inspired by the British House of Lords, while the California State Assembly, where I preside over session, is decorated in green based on the British House of Commons. Along the cornice is the Assembly motto in Latin, which translates to, "It is the duty of legislators to establish just laws." If you're interested in learning more about the state capitol and its history, you can contact my district office to arrange a personal tour of the building. Many visitors come from San Diego to see Sacramento every year, and while I can't always be available to be a personal tour guide, my staff can help you get connected to the Capitol Museum staff who can arrange a tour. Tours are limited to 20 individuals at a time or groups of up to 10 people on each public tour. Last month I gave a general overview of the state's annual budget process, and now that we have reached the May revision, we have something substantive for consideration ahead of our June votes. The newest estimate projects that the budget shortfall will be in nearly $32 billion. However, the governor's May revise makes a serious attempt at closing this projected gap. First off, I'm pleased to see a sustained level of support for housing solutions and to address homelessness still included. But I'm still concerned to see that the cuts to climate, green energy, and electric vehicle infrastructure commitments remain. Many people depend on our public transit systems daily, which are in dire need of funding to continue operations. In addition, I'd like to see more funding for child care providers who may provide an essential service to many Californians across the state. While the May revise includes funding cuts for many of my Assembly colleagues' priorities, it's important to remember that there is still a long way to go before the state budget is finalized and improved. Now, this is a starting point for the legislature, including the Assembly and the Senate, to begin negotiating with the governor to address these concerns and work toward a budget that addresses our biggest challenges. I also want to emphasize that I will not support any cuts to crucial social safety service programs that Californians depend on. Here are some links to view the executive summary, and I will welcome your input through my office's feedback portal on my website. After the budget's adopted and signed by the governor, I'll be sure to let you know how San Diego fared. Next, I wanted to talk about several bills that we're working on to address homelessness. These are critical bills for housing support, program accountability, and hospital diversion, so much so that I'm jointly authoring them with other colleagues. AB 312, which I'm joint authoring with Assemblymember Eloise Gomez-Reyes, will establish a housing data platform to connect renters and their families to deed-restricted affordable housing units that they qualify for. I'm joint authoring AB 1316 with Assemblymember Jackie Irwin. This bill would ensure that Medi-Cal managed care plans reimburse hospitals for care and referrals provided after normal business hours to people experiencing a mental health crisis. And finally, AB 799 with Assemblymember Luz Rivas would set consequences for entities failing to meet their housing goals, including potentially reallocating HAP funds to another entity within the same region. It would also streamline the administrative burdens on local systems while ensuring that more detailed information is made available to the public to improve transparency and oversight. In addition to joint authorships, there are about 30 bills which I am co-authoring, which are particularly important to our district and our priority issues. At the end of May, the Assembly has a deadline to pass or not the bills that started in the Assembly. So if you have questions on any pieces of legislation, please reach out to my office to understand what a bill does, what the status is, or importantly, how to register your opinion before I cast a vote. And as always, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be your representative and to work on these issues and so much more. One of the best ways to stay informed is to follow my social media accounts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where you can know in real time what developments are happening or what I'm working on every day. And if you need assistance, please know that my district office staff is available and ready to serve or answer any questions you may have. Feel free to reach out to the contact information at the end of the segment, and a staff member will connect with you as soon as possible. I wish you, your family, and all of your neighbors all the best.